This fragrance is so good that, you know what, I don't even want to say the name. It's called he, he. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Darian, man. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy on the channel where we talk about fragrance, fashion, as well as lifestyle. So if any of those things are interesting to you, I hope you would consider subscribing to the channel and make sure you hit the bell icon as well to ensure you get notified anytime I upload new content on the channel. Today I'm going to be dropping my top 10 fall niche fragrances for the year of 2022. I'm super excited about this list because fall is probably my favorite season, maybe winter. Fall and winter are my favorite seasons for wearing fragrances. And I mean, outside of that, man, fall is just a great season anyway. We have, of course, the Thanksgiving holiday. We have my birthday, which makes it probably the best season in the world. We have football season, and of course, we have fragrances. So I'm going to be jumping into the top 10 choices that I'll be wearing this upcoming fall. These are just the ones I'll be wearing. I think there's some good recommendations on here if you're looking for something to wear for the fall, especially if you're looking for some unique choices, because a lot of these fragrances I have on this list, nobody talks about, or either they were talked about at one point for a good little bit of time, and then people kind of, stop mentioning these fragrances. So if you're looking for something unique that probably a lot of folks won't be wearing, this is going to be the list for you. So if you want to see what I've chosen for my top 10 fall niche fragrances for the year 2022, then you know the routine. Keep it locked right here. Let's get it.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. We're going to jump into the video. Another thing that I want to mention that I love about fall is for fashion. Oh my gosh, I love the fall and winter for fashion. You can put more clothes on. That gives you a chance to wear more things, to accessorize more, to come up with some very different, just combinations from a layering and styling perspective. So I love the fall for fashion as well. And of course, that's when I started to put some cinnamon in my coffee, because cinnamon to me is the perfect spice for the fall. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the top 10 fragrances for 2022. The first fragrance up, again, a fragrance that not a lot of people talk about. I've heard some people mention it, but not a lot. More people need to talk about this fragrance from the house of Unique Luxury. This is called Istanbul. Istanbul. Look at that beautiful, almost ambery orange color juice. Very reminiscent of what you're going to get in this bottle. This is amazing, man. This fragrance does smell very similar to me to Love Don't Be Shy from Killian, but it is not quite as sweet, not quite as feminine leaning as that fragrance is. I think this one steers it a little bit more right to the middle, maybe leaning a little bit more on the masculine side of things, but it opens up beautiful, succulent, fruity opening to this fragrance. It's very luscious in the opening because you have some grapes in here, you have a tea accord, you have some citruses, a little bit of spice that comes into play as well in this. But what I love most about this fragrance, what makes it a great fragrance to wear in the fall, is on that dry down when you get that toffee and vanilla combination. Oh my God, this stuff is to die for. So make sure you guys check this out. Like I said, I know a lot of people don't really talk about this one, but it deserves more conversation. From the house of Unique Luxury, this one is called Istanbul. All right, and had it not been for the performance, this next fragrance would probably be #1 on my fall list every year. But it does suffer a bit in the performance category, but it smells so good, I still had to put it on the list. From the house of Frappin, this is called 1270. 1270, man, this thing just smells amazing. It's too bad that it only performs for about 3 hours, but I just take it with me when I actually wear this and I just reapply it. It's everything that a fall fragrance should be. It has, dried fruits in it. It has some cacao, some honey, some coffee. I mean, again, hazelnut, you name it, it's in this fragrance. Cinnamon, everything that I love in a fragrance, but again, it just suffers in the performance category, but what it lacks in performance, it makes up in scent DNA. Let me just spray it on my hand right now. Oh my gosh. Guys, get it. If you're not one of those people that holds every fragrance hostage for not being a performance monster, and you don't mind reapplying, this is something you gotta get in your life. You gotta at least smell it at least once. From the house of Frappin, this one is called 1270. All right, now coming in at the 8th spot this year, this fragrance actually comes from the house of Parfums de Marly. This is such a delicious fragrance, man. This one is called Hobden. This one is called Hobden. Oh, man. This is a caramel candy apple. That's exactly what this fragrance smells like. Again, sometimes I try to come up with really creative ways to describe how a fragrance smells, but sometimes it just is what it is, and sometimes the typical descriptive words sometimes just have to suffice on a fragrance, because that's really what this is. It's apple, saffron in the opening, and of course you have the caramel. I got a hint of rose in this as well. It's just an amazing fragrance from Parfums de Marly. Like I said, it speaks fall. When you smell this one as well as Wajan, which comes in a very similar bottle, both of those fragrances are really good for this time of year because of the spices, the fruity spiciness that you get in those fragrance compositions. But I love this one. I don't think it's as popular as Wajan, but more people need to get their nose on this one, and that's why I put it on my list. I'm really gonna focus on wearing this more this fall. From the house of Parfums de Marly, again, this is Hobden. All right, guys, now coming in at the 7th spot on this list, this is a fragrance that nobody talks about. I don't think I've really seen many people actually even ever mention this fragrance. And it's from the Armani Privé collection, but I'm telling you, it is perfect for the fall season. And this one is called Ombre Eccentrico. Ombre Eccentrico, and you get exactly what is in the name. You get amber, but you have to wait till the dry down to really get to the amber in this fragrance. But listen, man, this fragrance smells very similar to two fragrances that I love, and I'm a gourmand fragrance lover. But if you love gourmand, this is one you got to get your nose on. It's going to remind you a little bit of Fève Délicieuse from the house of Christian Dior, the private collection. And it's also going to put you in the mindset of Italica from Xerjoff. This smells a lot closer to Italica from Xerjoff than Fève Délicieuse, but if you could imagine the sweetness you get from those fragrances, that very gourmand, cookie, cake kind of sweetness that you get from those fragrances, you get that here, and it dries down to a beautiful amber. You got some dried fruits in here. Of course, you have amber. This fragrance is absolutely stunning. And like I said, nobody talks about this stuff. If you like Italica, or if Italica was just a little too sweet for you, guys, get your nose on this. This smells like bread pudding. Bread pudding with some raisins and cinnamon spice over the top. That's what this smells like. You got to get your nose on this stuff. It is absolutely breathtaking. From the house of Armani. Armani from the Privé collection. This one is called Ombre Eccentrico. All right, guys. Now this next fragrance, this house doesn't get as much talk on YouTube as it deserves. They have some very creative fragrances, very well done fragrances. And this fragrance is from the house of Givenchy, and this one is called Psychedelic. Psychedelic. And I've been on a amber craze here as of late, and man, two accords in here, patchouli and amber. It's really a patchouli bomb, but it dries down to a very ambery kind of feel to it. But in the opening, it's really just all about patchouli. A very kind of that chocolatey variety of patchouli. It comes off very chocolatey. It could be some of the sweeter resinous notes that's in there to create the ambery accord that meshes with the patchouli for it to come off that way. But man, this stuff, oh my gosh, this stuff is absolutely amazing. If you love patchouli, if you love amber, you will love this stuff. You got to get your nose on it. From the house of Givenchy, this is called Psychedelic. All right, guys, I'm coming in at the 5th spot. This is a fragrance that got some notoriety and some conversations earlier, way back when. Not a lot of people talk about this fragrance anymore, but for the fall season, it doesn't get much better than this one. From the house of Serge Lutens, this one is called Ombre Sultan. Ombre Sultan. Like I said, I've been on an amber kick here lately. This stuff, my gosh. Listen, what's Amber Absolute from Tom Ford has been discontinued. To me, this is the closest thing that I have smelled to Amber Absolute. It is really, really close. Of course, oh my gosh. It's ambery from start to finish. Get ambers in here. You get some other resins like some myrrh in this as well. So it starts to be that syrupy, slightly sweet, resinous, ambery accord in this one because of the other resins that's in here besides the notes that make up the amber accord in this. But when it dries down, you get a little bit of a slight earthiness that comes from patchouli and myrtle. This stuff is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, if you love ambers, get your nose on this. If you've ever wanted to smell Amber Absolute from Tom Ford, and because it's discontinued, you haven't been able to get your hands on it, this is really, really, really close in my humble opinion. So check it out from the House of Serge Lutines. This is called Ombre Sultan. All right, now coming in the fourth spot this year, this is a fragrance that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about this fragrance. I think I've seen one person talk about this fragrance on YouTube, and it is an utter shame that nobody talks about it. But the perfume house itself is one that needs more talk as well and more conversation around it. So here we go in the fourth spot this year from the house of Profuma Roma. This is called Chorizo. This is called Chorizo. And this is, guys, if you love gourmands, you got to get your nose on this. My God. This smells like, this has dark chocolate. It has vanilla. It has bitter orange. And woods. That's exactly what you get in this fragrance. And man, listen, it's like a vanilla ice cream with some fudge, chocolate fudge sprinkled over the top of it, with a little bit of a kind of an orange feel to it. That's exactly what this smells like, man. Exactly what it smells like. Like I said, this is a gourmand lover's dream. This stuff is so good. And because of the high level of oil concentration and fragrances from this brand, it lasts all day long on my skin. So if you want to be walking around this fall smelling like a snack, this is what you need to put on your skin, man. This is absolutely phenomenal. This is phenomenal, man. You got to check this fragrance out. You got to check this house out from the house of Profuma Roma. This one is called Chorizo. And coming in at the third spot, man, I love this fragrance. Like I said, this is one that got some hype when it first came out, I think around 2014. Then it died down and the hype never really came back. But this is one of my favorite fragrances from the House of Amouage. And that's really saying something because I love a lot of their fragrances. But this one is called Journeyman. Journeyman. The bottle says fall. The fragrance says fall. This stuff is fantastic. This is really, to me, about the spices and tobacco. That's really what this fragrance is about. And tobacco is one of those fragrance notes that, for me, is quintessential fall. It has tobacco, it has Sichuan pepper, of course, got a kind of incensey vibe to it as well. But like I said, this is one that I thoroughly enjoy from the House of Amouage. Like I said, it's perfect to me for the fall season. And as the name indicates, this one will take you on somewhat of a journey. So make sure you put your nose on this one, guys, from the House of Amouage. Again, this is called Journeyman. All right, guys, now coming in the number 2 spot, this fragrance is so good that, you know what, I don't even want to say the name. It's called in the number 2 spot from the House of the Harmonists, this is called Hypnotizing Fire. Hypnotizing Fire. And I just really think it's unfair for a fragrance to smell this good. I really do. There should be a law somewhere, and I'm going to go and research this after this video is over. I'm going to go and search for the law that says that it should be against the law for a fragrance to smell this good, and when it hits your skin, for you to smell that good. I know it's out there somewhere. But I love this fragrance. I could sing the praises of this one all day long. Oh my gosh. I did a full review of it. If you missed it, I'll link it up here. But to really give you a quick overview, it smells like a more mature, more refined version of By the Fireplace from Maison Margiela. And I know a lot of you love that fragrance. It opens up with pimento, which is an allspice, so you get some cinnamon, some nutmeg, a little bit of clove in there, some smokiness that comes from a Pampanax. That's kind of the fire, or as the fire is dying out, that kind of gives you that imagery of that. This is just an amazing fragrance. It's amazing. It has some rose in the heart, some vanilla as well. One that you have to get your nose on at some point from the house of the harmonist. This is called Hypnotizing Fire. All right, guys, and coming in the #1 spot this year on my fall niche list from the house of by Kilian, this is called Apple Brandy. Apple Brandy, you know it had to be good if it beat out Hypnotizing Fire. But again, this is what it's all about. The weather's starting to cool down a little bit, and you need a fragrance like this in your life. It is very reminiscent to me of almost like apple cider. So you kind of have this apple accord in the opening of this. When it starts to dry down, it gets a little bit resinous. Has some labdanum in here as well. This oak accord, this oak wood accord, really very reminiscent of cedar. But it's kind of like what you get with Angel Share and some other fragrances that kind of give this aged oak barrel kind of feel to a fragrance, very woody. Smells like the brandy in this has been kind of aged in oak barrels, like it's literally been sitting there for years, just kind of, you know, macerating over time. That's what you get in this fragrance. It smells phenomenal. It smells phenomenal, man. There's a lot of fragrances that kind of hint at this DNA, but no one does it like this one from Kilian, Apple Brandy, and that's why it is in my #1 spot for the fall of 2022. Get this in your life if you can. Because to me, the On the Rocks is good, but this is a lot better in my opinion. So that's why it's in the #1 spot, guys, from the house by Kilian. This is called Apple Brandy. All right, guys, that's it, man. That's my time. I hope you enjoyed this list today as I gave you my top 10 niche fragrances for the fall of 2022. As always, I sincerely appreciate your time and attention to these videos. You guys don't have to watch, but you do, and I sincerely appreciate that. And don't forget to make sure you take a few moments to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks that you think could use this information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.